Hey guys, I'm Archie and welcome back to part 2 of this series about modding with YYToolkit. Today it's just gonna be a quick video showing you how to actually get started with the YYToolkit interface that it exposes to mods. Because right now we only have pretty much a blank Aurie module, which uses, well, it uses YYToolkit's headers but doesn't really do much with them. All this stuff, this is just boilerplate for an Aurie module without any dependencies. Right? So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the module pre-initialize and the module unload functions, because while they're in the example, they're not actually required by the framework, and for the sake of the tutorial, they just take up valuable screen space. What we're gonna end up with is just this module initialize function. Now, the way Aurie is set up, the module initialize function only runs after the GameMaker engine finishes initialization, right? After it creates a window and starts executing code. So, once we get to this function, once the framework itself actually fires this off, we're already in what amounts to be a fully initialized engine, right? So we can actually go and do stuff with it as if we were already running in the context of the game. So the first thing we're gonna actually want to do is make some space for us and create some variables. These variables, the Aurie status is just what functions that Aurie exposes return. They're essentially error codes, because if you look at the definition of an Aurie status, there we go, IntelliSense. If we look at the definition of an Aurie status, you can see it's just a bunch of error codes together with a success code. So this actually tells you what went wrong if any functions related to Aurie or YYToolkit fail. And then we have the YYTK interface itself. As you can see, it's a pointer, not an actual class instance. Because if I were to actually try and instantiate this class, as you can see, it has pure virtual functions, so I can't actually make an instance. And these pure virtual functions are implemented in the main YYToolkit module. So your plugin does not actually know how to instantiate this class. If we take a look at it, there's no actual data members or anything, it's just the functions, right? Next up, we actually have to get this pointer somehow from Aurie. And this is where interfaces come in. Interfaces are essentially a way for mods to share these types of class pointers with each other. And we can actually use the ObGetInterface function exposed by Aurie to get a pointer to the YYTK main interface. Now, if at any point you're not sure what these functions do, most of them are documented on the wiki of either Aurie or YYToolkit itself. When it comes to YYToolkit, all module functions are already documented as I record this, but I'm working on getting Aurie documentation sorted. Now, what this function actually does is it gets an interface called YYTK main, which is an interface that the main YYToolkit module sets up. This name has to exactly match. I think it's case insensitive, but I'm not sure. You'll have to check the wiki for that. And it returns the pointer as an Aurie interface base, but we just reinterpret cast it to a YYTK interface, right? Because an Aurie interface base just exposes three functions, essentially a constructor, a destructor, and a way to query the version of the interface. It doesn't actually show us any functions that the interface implements itself. Now, we're gonna want to check if the last status actually is a success code, right? Because if it's not, chances are YYTK is not even loaded. So I don't actually have this pre-prepared, oops. So I'm just gonna have to type it out. Now we're gonna go if Aurie success, and we're gonna pass in the last status code. And as you can see, what this does is it just converts the status code, it just checks it against Aurie success. So if we actually don't succeed, we can just say return, and we're gonna return an error code, say Aurie module dependency not resolved. Because if we can't get the interface, we kind of don't have something that we depend on, i.e. a dependency. So this status code is pretty much fitting. Now, after we have that, we're guaranteed that our YYTK interface is a valid pointer to the interface, right? So we can just do this and call any method from it. Again, using IntelliSense, you can actually see all the methods that it exposes here together with create, destroy, and query version. Try and avoid calling create and destroy, because that will actually break YYToolkit. You're not meant to call these, but you can pretty much call anything else. You can have functions to call GameMaker built-in functions. You can enumerate instance members, all that cool stuff we're gonna get into soon. But for now, we're just gonna print a warning into the console, and we're gonna say my mod initialized successfully. That's all we're gonna do. And after that, we're just gonna return as Aurie success. So right now we can just go build solution. Take note, we're compiling in release x64. You have to compile in release unless you're compiling YYTK locally yourself or are using a debug build of it. Because the way Microsoft's compiler implements strings is different depending on whether or not you're using debug or release mode, which can cause crashes due to YYTK trying to access the string at a different offset than it actually is, because you're, in debug mode while that's in release mode. So yeah, just make sure they match. If you're just using the Aurie manager here to install Aurie and YYToolkit, you'll want to compile and release, as that's what all the builds I put on GitHub are compiled in. So after we've actually built this successfully in the correct configuration, we can just remember the path of the DLL, go into Aurie manager of our game. If it's not here, you're going to want to click add game and find the executable. Go into the path, and as you can see here, I have a sonic volume.dll, which is what this project is called. I can just add it, and I can click play game. As you can see, Aurie initializes, and here we have the printf just after YYTK next runs. And as you can see, it all works, says my mod initialized successfully. And that's pretty much all there is to using YYTK to getting the interface in your mod. This little bit of code, that's all there is to it. Now you can call any function that's documented on the wiki and essentially make your own mod. So yeah, happy modding, and I'll see you soon.